The national tension around race has played out on the football field this year, with a number of African American players protesting during the pregame traditions of the national anthem. At a recent MSU football game, three Spartan players raised their fists during the anthem as a sign of solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement. This is not the first time race has been a topic of conversation in the MSU football world. 2016 marks the 50th anniversary of the back-to-back national championship seasons for MSU. Legendary head coach Duffy Daugherty broke through racial barriers in his methods of actively recruiting African American players. The 1965 and 1966 teams were subject of a documentary called Men of Sparta, which debuted at this summer's Traverse City Film Festival. Reporter Zach Barnes was at the debut and spoke with several players from those teams.
The story of Michigan State's 1965 and 1966 back-to-back national championship teams was brought to light in the documentary Men of Sparta. A story of a school during the United States' greatest period of social unrest, with a forward-thinking administration, a coach that saw a team, not race, and a student body unmoved by the color of your skin.
This was in the thick of Jim Crow era, and we had Caucasian players from the South who've never played against African American players, let alone be teammates. We had African American players who were not allowed to play against Caucasian players or even mix.
That was producer, narrator, and former fullback Bob Appiza. 8 of the 11 defensive starters in that two-time national title team were African American. Talent that could only be accumulated by a coach willing to ignore prejudices and specifically seek them out.
Duffy had, during the time that he was a very popular, outstanding coach in the country, the Coach of the Year clinics, he and Bud Wilkerson. Well, when they came to the South, the black high school coaches wasn't allowed to come to the clinics. So Duffy started the coaches' clinics for the black high school coaches. And so then the black high school coaches all over the South and the Southwest endeared themselves to him. And when they had good players, he had first option on those players.
And good players they were, as 4 of the first 8 picks in the 1967 NFL draft were African Americans from MSU.
It was never a black-white competition. We created an environment competitively that in order to meet the standard, there had to be a selfless environment and a competitive environment.
That was 1966 quarterback Jimmy Ray, who recalls when he ordered off a menu for the first time in his life when he stayed at the Kellogg Center.
Where I grew up, you wasn't allowed to stay in the hotels. So that first morning, that night that I stayed in the hotel, I was up early because I couldn't sleep. So I went down and I was walking around in front of the restaurant in the Kellogg Center because at home, you wasn't allowed to go in the restaurants and sit and eat. And so the lady at the hostess stand recognized, I guess, my uneasiness, and she said, "You must be a recruit." I said, "Yes." She said, "Well, come on in, Coach should be here anytime." And so I sit down and I kept thinking that anytime somebody was going to tell me that, "What are you doing here? You can't sit here, you got to get up and leave."
That moment never came. Players like Robert Viney, a white lineman, made it a point to not only be tolerant of different races, but ensure they bonded.
We partied together, we went to other events together, we ate together, and the net result is we had a close-knit, great bunch of guys.
It was this 1966 team that played in the legendary Game of the Century against Notre Dame that ended in a notorious 10-10 tie.
A few plays later, Notre Dame faces a critical third down play. O'Brien
one of the most famous games in college football history. But as the 50th anniversary takes place on Saturday, November 19th, let it be a reminder of how far this country has come in terms of social justice.
We had just enacted the Civil Rights Act in '64. We just enacted the Civil Rights Voting Act in 1965 before we took the national championship. So it meant a lot to us to see that the different races are coming together.
Because of this triumph, so much of the way we see college football is in part to this team.
Michigan State was the forerunner in breaking down those barriers. And dating back a little over 50 years, when Duffy brought these players, regardless of who you are, where you come from, it makes a big difference to today's generation.
Zach Barnes is a reporter for Impact 89 FM. He also hosts our sports talk show. An extended version of this story can be heard Sunday morning at 10 a.m.